Welcome to the Atomic Impact Podcast. I'm your host, Jason Osborn. And on this podcast, we interview successful business owners for them to share atomic, impactful lessons that they've learned throughout the course of their business and share them with us that we can learn as well. As always, this show is sponsored by the LinkedIn Reverse Podcast Method, the new way to close deals that doesn't rely on any of the old traditional methods that everybody hates. We use this method to book 26 qualified leads and sales calls in 10 days without any ad spend, outreach, or endless social media posting. To find out more, direct message me on LinkedIn to have a chat. That's Jason A. Osborn. The link to that will be in the show notes below. But on today's show, our special guest is Matt Clutterham. He is the owner of Q Branch, providing strategy and coaching for micro and mid-scale brands that wish to scale using their fusion model of accelerating brand, people, and operational excellence in a single aligned transformation project. So, Matt, thanks so much for being on the show today. And I want to start off with asking you a question that I always love to ask and start off with, which is this. If you were able to go back to in time and start over again with what you're doing, but knowing what you know now, what would you do differently in the first 12 months?
Great to be here, Jason. Lovely to be on the show. Yeah, well, that's an amazing question because and the answer's pretty simple. I would employ our fusion model right from the get-go because quite honestly, it's been a journey of 25 years of mistakes and epiphanies and learnings and tryings. And we've really only got there in the last couple of years. And and it makes such a difference that I would start with that from the get-go.
Yeah, yeah. So what's the key thing that you would change? Is so you say fusion model, but is it operations? Is it branding? Like what specific thing would you change in that? Like if it's starting all over again, what were the mistakes that you made?
Yeah, so the first mistake that I made absolutely was to try and do everything alone. When I started my first business, I was very much the lone wolf mentality, which as any successful business owner will tell you, is no road to success. Um,
Yeah.
the next thing I grew to understand, because I'm myself a brand strategist, was the power of brand strategy.
Mm.
And in that, I'm not really talking about logos or colors or fonts or any of the traditional branding things that we talk about. I'm talking about a deliberate plan to connect your business, product, and service to humans. So through messaging, through positioning, through pricing, and being very intentional about the plan, really, of what you're doing. Yeah. Now that was fine with me, but when I started to roll that out to other businesses, I came across the next problem, if you like, and that was that for brand strategy to really work, and particularly in a world that's getting noisier and busier, you've got to be bold. You've got to be bold. You've got to stand out. You've got to do something different, which is inherently hard for humans. Like we're tribal by nature, right back to caveman times. We're programmed not to stand out. We're programmed to go with the herd, to think in tribes. So to go against the grain is pretty difficult. Until I met Jenny, my wife and business partner, and she then started to coach the people I was working with on the mindset of the strategy I was giving them. So basically sorting out the bit between their left and their right ears that was holding them back and stopping them actually implementing. Game changer. Like it unlocked so much, not only in our own business, but for our clients. But there was still a tiny little piece missing. And that was operational excellence. So actually, the systems and processes and habits of the day to day that the people implement in order for the brand to work.
Yeah, I love that. You mentioned something key there as well, is that there's it's noisy. There's a lot out there, and anyone marketing will know that. It's just no, it's becoming more noisy because
Mm.
people just spam all over the place. So what's been the hardest part of scaling without becoming salesy or spammy or falling into that trap that so many other people do?
Yeah, great question. And I think it's a hard trap not to fall into because when things are noisy and when things are tight, like particularly when you're starting out, when things are tight, money's tight, time's tight, resources are tight, it's easy to fall into that trap of, I just need more leads. I just need, market at any cost, right?
Yeah,
Which actually is the opposite of what we need to grow sustainably long term.
yeah,
We need to, develop relationships. We need to develop brand. We need to develop trust. And anything you do that is spammy or quick, basically, great rule of thumb for the watchers and listeners: if it's going to produce super quick results, double check. Like double check that you are not going to damage your longer term reputation.
I love that, Matt. It's a great thing. It's I agree with you, and it's so incredible how many times people don't want to listen to that because it's one of the things I always find really interesting, particularly people starting off in business. They say they don't want to get rich quick, but they do, and they just want those quick results. And I think the wisdom that you're sharing around that, if people can apply that now, or even if people have been in business for a while but they haven't quite grown, it's the long-term strategy that you're talking about that I think is really, really important there. So I love that. Yeah, double check if things are quick, double check it because oftentimes that is the spammy stuff, and it's just terrible, and it ruins your reputation for sure. So yeah,
and it, and it's understandable, right? Because when things are tight, it's
yeah,
you're looking for those quick fixes. How do I sort the cash flow out for the end of the month because I've got payroll to meet.
yeah,
I've got all these things to do. There are ways to do it, faster
yeah.
but yeah, do the double check.
Yeah, yeah, and I think that's a good point. It doesn't mean that it can't be fast, but there's a difference between um, fast and speed, I think, because if you do it right, you can be speedy, but fast oftentimes is cutting corners that isn't good. So that's a great distinction there as well, Matt. Along those lines, because I'm all about relationships and building relationships when as you build a
Mm.
business and stuff. What's the one thing you changed in how you build relationships that has made the whole sales process feel easier for you in your business?
Mm. Yeah, I would say to make sure that even in this time, that you have a mix of in-person and digital outreach.
Mm,
That don't rely on the website to do all the work for you. Don't rely on the socials to do all the work for you. Don't rely on pay per click to do all the work for you. Uh, at the end of the day, humans buy from humans. Um, Currently, that may change.
and that may change.
That may change. We may get to a point where there's a lot of machine to machine buying, but we're not there yet, even in
Mm,
B2B.
yeah.
So, and I think that that's a good message too, like, but because I see the B2B guys get stuck with this all the time. Um, B2B is still human to human.
Hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So, I always like to say, think of it like dating.
Yep. Yeah. No, I agree
Uh,
with you. I think there is that disconnect oftentimes with B2B because you think you're selling to a business, but you're not really, you know. Sure, the payment might come from a business entity, but it's a human making that decision. And yeah, absolutely around that. The other thing that I love to ask, Matt, is we all go through challenges in business, and
mm,
oftentimes as you know, being a business owner can be lonely sometimes, and we think we're the only ones that are going through the challenge, or we've never no one's ever felt or gone through this, it's just us, we're we're doomed or whatever people go through. So I like to normalize that. And I think the more we're able to say, well, yeah, look, I faced this challenge. And you go, oh, I'm not the only one. So having said that, what's the biggest challenge that you faced so far in your business? And what's the lesson that you learned from that?
Yeah, I would say probably the biggest challenge that I faced, and also we see clients facing, is bad clients.
Mm,
And when I say bad client, I mean a client that isn't really the right fit for you and what you're doing.
yeah.
For us, that manifested in some, clients disappearing with big bills yet to pay, and things like that. But when we looked back, we shouldn't have been working with them in the first place. We knew from the outset that they weren't ideal, that they didn't tick the boxes. And I think the more, and again, when you're at that early stage, it's easy to go, yeah, it's work, it's cash, like we'll do everything. And actually, like, it's really important, even in the early days, to set some boundaries, to set out your stall for your ideal customer, and really just focus on them, and
Yeah.
learn to say no to the wrong people.
Yeah, yeah, I totally agree with you. It's such a big mistake, and I think even people who've been in business for a really long time still do that because they're afraid of what it will the impact it'll have on their business. Don't know if you've ever read a book called Who Not How, but it's a great book, and they talk about that in there as well about some companies that they've worked with that has basically dropped like 80% of their business that was only bringing in 20% of the revenue. And it's scary, because you're like,
Yeah,
oh, but it's like, well, if you just focus on the 20 that's bringing in the 80%, how much more can you grow? And I think it's a great answer to the question. It's bad clients. And
yeah,
this is a little bit controversial, but I do not subscribe to the client is always right ideology, because they're not, you know. And if they're not a right fit for you, they're not a right fit for you. You don't have to force that into because there's always better clients that are going to be better fit. So yeah, that's a great answer to that. Yeah. Was there something
yeah.
else you wanted to
And
say along that?
oh, I love that 80-20 rule. And it constantly surprises me how many times 80-20 shows up in successful business.
Yeah.
20% of the work brings into 80% of the profit, 20% of the clients brings in 80% of the revenue. 20% of the market is ready to buy from you right now. So how are you going to stay top of mind for the 80% who aren't ready right now?
Yeah.
80-20 all the way through. It shows up
Yeah.
again and again in success.
Yeah. It's almost scary how it's right at that mark. It's like it was designed that way or something,
Yeah,
It's
absolutely. Yeah.
it's really weird. Well, over the next 2 to 3 years of what you're doing in your business, what are your goals? What would you like to achieve?
We've got you talking about, sometimes business is lonely. We for smaller businesses that we can't work one-to-one with, we have a community. The entry level of that is free, and our mission over the next couple of years is to grow that to 1,000 business owners in community together, just figuring it out together, with a little
Yeah.
bit of guidance from us, but really just having the camaraderie of togetherness. So we'd like to serve 1,000 businesses in that way. And really, our big mission is, I'm going to go back to the 80-20 here for a second.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we know on a conservative level, 80% of all new businesses fail, right? And that's a pretty conservative estimate. And the next 17% stay and struggle their whole life.
Wow.
Which only actually leaves the top 3% who are doing well, and it's behind those statistics are people, right? They're real people living real lives. And not only that, behind that, there's a load of great ideas that have the power to make all our lives on earth better.
Yeah.
That may not get the chance if they fall into the statistic of the 80 or the 17 of struggle. And our mission is to do what we can to change those numbers.
I love that. That's a great mission, Matt. That's really, really cool. And of course, anything I can do to help you guys out on that as well, that's amazing because I love business. I love entrepreneurship. It's not the easiest, but as I've heard many people say, you choose your level of hard. And for us
Yeah,
entrepreneurs, it's the rewards are great, but we need to support each other through it as well. So I love that, man. Well, for people that are looking to get in touch with you, learn a little bit more about you, what's the best place for them to get in touch with you?
absolutely. Come and find me on LinkedIn is probably the best place. At Matt Clutterham on LinkedIn. Come and chat with me there. Give me a connection. And I can share with you links to our community. And, we've got a podcast as well, Leading Boldly. And we've got a whole resource, whatever stage you are, we've probably got some resources that can help you out.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Well, Matt, thank you so much for being on the show. And I recommend everyone to definitely check out, visit Matt's LinkedIn profile and all the other things that he has going on as well. So, again, thank you so much for being on the show, sharing your wisdom and insights to your business journey. And as a reminder to everyone listening, this show is sponsored by the LinkedIn Reverse Podcast Method, the new way to close deals that doesn't rely on any of the old traditional methods that everybody hates. Send me a direct message on LinkedIn to find out more. That's Jason A. Osborn. The link to that will be in the show notes below. But until next episode, stay inspired.